As the man just said, yes, sir. It's time to go live on Conversations with Commodores. And we got a 2012 or 2012 to 2015 Commodore came in with a fantastic class. He's in Hendersonville, but we're trying to get him down to Birmingham. Ladarius Banks, how you doing, LB? Good to see you tonight, buddy.
Man, I'm well, man. I appreciate the opportunity.
Oh, the opportunity and the pleasure is all mine. And as you and I have been chopping it up a little bit just now, the purpose of these conversations are to tell the stories that people don't know, or maybe the stories that folks do know. And we're going to check your accuracy with depending on who's in our group tonight watching us. I'm just making sure we push live to the group. I think we have. Guys, Ladarius came in with a fantastic class, 20, I keep saying 20, the 12 class, and was part of some bowl teams. But I want to know, how did you get out of Miami, Florida, the home of some of the largest groups of high school talent in the country, and the Floridas and the Miamis and everybody recruits down there? How did we get you out of there and get you to campus? You got to start there.
Absolutely. So, man, actually, it starts with my mom taking a job at Emory University Hospital in 2010. So in 2010, we relocated from Miami, Florida, to Dallas, Georgia. While in Miami, I mean, I did, of course, grade school all the way up until ninth grade. Even those younger years were still filled with, an experience. I attended Miami Northwestern Senior High School in my ninth grade year. So you're saying teammates like Teddy Bridgewater, Mari Cooper, Eli Rogers, Michael E. Harris. The list kind of goes on and on.
Wait, are those? I've never heard any of those guys. Will they make it anywhere?
I don't think those guys can play football too well.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it started there. My mom took the job. She kind of uprooted us. She had an opportunity. My mom's probably one of the most successful people. I know some successful people, but she's a very successful woman. She kind of took that job at Emory and uprooted us, and was able to play some ball at East Paulding in Dallas, Georgia. And during that time, man, Coach Franklin, when he came in, he heavily recruited that metropolitan Atlanta area. And I just so happened to be one of the guys that himself, Coach Spencer, and Coach Bankins kind of, saw as a person to fill some needs.
When did you first visit the campus?
Oh, man. So I first visited the campus. Actually, man, it was my birthday. It was my birthday weekend. It was a cookout with Commodores. Really early in the process. It's like right around, my birthday's in June, so right around that time. I want to say June 2000. Would that be 11? June 2011. Yep.
Yeah, so that would have been going into your senior year of high school.
Yep. I committed to Vanderbilt as a junior. Right around my spring game. I was the captain of my team, and it was already becoming a circus around the high school as far as guys. The counselor coming over the intercom, Ladarius Banks, report to the field house. So I kind of talked to my coach. I said, "Hey, coach, I want to get us a state championship, and I want to wrap this recruiting thing up." The teams that have reached out to me thus far, they saw potential in me this early. I kind of want to, call a place home. Vanderbilt, Clemson, Kentucky, amongst others, were on that list. Wake Forest. So I committed. I seen it's crazy, man. I was watching ESPN and I saw names like Darion Herring and Stephen Weatherly go across the ticker. And I'm like, yeah, I know those guys, right? Atlanta guys. Literally next day, I announced my commitment.
Was that a big weight off your shoulders?
Oh man, there's a picture on Facebook, and I hope I can find it, of that day, the day before that I'm talking about, where my head's like this. Man, I was, college coaches coming in every day. I was a little overwhelmed, and I'm more of a team guy than a me guy. So yeah, that process was a lot for me, but I'm happy that I chose the Commodores.
When you came up to campus that June, going into your senior year, you go to the cookout. Were any of your future teammates or signing classmates also? Do you remember that much?
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. Remember like it was yesterday. Caleb Azubike, he was a guy. I mean, he was the best man in my wedding. So he's a brother of mine. He was at the cookout. Stephen Weatherly, like I just noted, was at the cookout. Darion Herring, as I mentioned, was at the cookout. That was right before we got Brian Kimbrough on board, as well as Corey Beatty. A bunch of guys in that class. So that it was right around that time, but I remember very vividly, just interacting with guys, just having fun at the cookout. I mean, Coach Franklin did an amazing job, kind of getting us together. I mean, he kind of framed it as, once you're committed to me, you're married. So when the opportunity came to get us all together, I mean, we were rocking, man. We were rocking.
Well, I know that not only to take a weight off your shoulders about making that decision, but it lets you focus on your senior season, your senior year of high school. And did you ever waver during that school year before you signed with Vanderbilt that maybe Clemson was coming on strong, or whoever was really pushing you to decommit and to come to them?
Man, never once. And I tell you, it was a conversation where, oh man, we kind of Coach Franklin kind of nipped it in the bud really fast. Like you mentioned, I'm from Miami, Florida, so every summer since the 8th grade, I always attended the University of Miami football camp. So I was very familiar with the staff. I mean, they knew me as a young pup, and Coach McGriff was also on that staff. So he ended up becoming, getting on with Vanderbilt. So he was a big part of getting me, because he remembered me from as early as the 8th grade. But yeah, man, Miami was in the picture, but Rivals.com had had called me just to kind of get that answer that you just asked about wavering. And, I kind of told them that, NC State was still talking to me, and I go to Miami every year. So I'm going to Miami for the camp, and we'll kind of see where that goes. My mom and dad got wind of that, and Coach Franklin called.
You're stirring the pot. You're stirring the pot, or at least Rivals magazine was.
Oh yeah, man. Once he pushed that out, man, my mom kind of got on me. It was a conversation between Coach Franklin, myself, and it was.
Where were you? I know you. You know exactly where you were when that conversation.
Man, I was at the kitchen table, man. At the kitchen table.
Oh.
So it came down to my Coach Franklin on the phone say, "Hey, remember when we offered you this thing and we talked about committing? We said it was like a marriage. Now you won't want your wife to go off talking to, other guys now, would you?" And my mom interjected immediately saying, "No, Coach, we are 100% committed to Vanderbilt and the education." And so yeah, that's how that played.
I don't mean to be a wet blanket, but it's kind of ironic what he did when he left to go to Penn State and took recruits with him. But we'll put that aside for now. That's about him, not about you.
Hey, once he wins over Mama, man, that's a tough man to crack, right? That's a tough cookie to crack right there.
Well, and you're also a smart dude. You knew to listen to Mama.
Yep.
So you get up to I know what I wanted to ask you. High school football in South Florida has largely been known for speed, athleticism, and more speed. Football in the Atlanta metro area may have some speed, but it's also known for its toughness, its strength. Its linemen are coming out of there, as well as athletes of really of all kind. I know that's generalized, but my question is, what was your experience about playing at, was it East Paulding or South Paulding?
Yeah, East Paulding.
East Paulding. What was that high school experience versus I know you were younger in Miami, but maybe those camps that you went to, was there really a difference in athleticism and mindset, or is it just all tough, all good?
And when I tell you, it's night and day in a couple perspectives. Miami, you eat and I grew up in Liberty City. So I mean that's inner city Miami. That's a lot of guys see football as a way out, as a means of, making a way for their families. And a lot of them do. So I'll tell you, I mean, although I was a young pup, man, I was thrown into the fire, man. I mean, I was a guy coming, I won the tight end MVP as an eighth grader. And I mean, at Miami, and there were guys from California getting recruited to come to Miami, evaluated, and I outshined them as an eighth grader. I got the plaque at my mom's house. So like it was it was definitely a process. I would say where Georgia kind of trumps South Florida is the programs. I had the pleasure of playing for Coach John Reed, who is now at Rome High School, who is a powerhouse, and just the magnitude of the program. I mean, my first day at East Paulding, I was at a field house. I didn't even know what a field house was when I was in Miami.
I
Like
was going to
I'm
say
saying,
the money that's in those programs. Like I
yes,
have a
sir.
buddy whose sons have gone through Grayson,
Yeah,
and they put out 40 kids a year senior class. It's
yep.
huge. I don't know if East Baldwin was that big, but it was, up in the Gwinnett County, those schools
Mhm.
that's some serious money and development. And I guess maybe the Miami or the South Florida programs just don't have that infrastructure.
It's all gritty, man. I mean, in South Florida, you get it how you live. We lived on the track. I mean, I got introduced to the weight room when I moved to Georgia. I mean, we were in the weight room in Miami, don't get me wrong, but I remember very vividly how to squat and power clean properly
Mm-hmm.
when I moved to Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of where, I'm thankful for my experience and my parents for, allowing me to, experience that growing up in Miami, but also giving us a different experience living elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
It helped me. I was multifaceted in many ways. I had the quick agility and speed from South Florida. And then when I moved to Miami, when I moved to East Paulding, I mean, heck, I came to the program at 225. I left at 275. So, so
LB, I got to pause you because we got a whole bunch of Commodores, including some of your teammates in the house.
love it, love it.
We got Kenny Cole, we got John Griffith, we got Bossier's in the house, we got Dwayne Jones, uh, we got Paul Morgan and Darius Sims.
Love it, love it.
He says Tennessee football is better than Florida football.
He
Just
kn- he know he and shout out to the Noops, but come on, man, you know better than that, my boy. You know better than
Darius, I want you on this program sometime. So,
that.
guys, we got Ladarius Banks. Ladarius had the experience of growing up in South Florida, playing in the Miami area system up through about ninth grade. Then he moves up to the Atlanta metro area, Dallas. Is it Dallas County or Dallas, Georgia?
Dallas, Georgia, East Paulding County.
But you're playing all those metro schools, I'm sure, in addition to county schools. So you had some fine competition. I'm sure you played against a ton of
Oh
deep
yeah.
competition. But I always like to ask, people will say that California, Ohio, Georgia, Florida, some of the best Texas football in the country for high school, but none of it compares moving to the SEC, the next level. So you get up to Vanderbilt. Talk about your transition. Was it did you get redshirted? Did you get to play? What was the moments? What was it that taught you, hey, I'm not home playing high school ball anymore. This is real deal. This is big boy football.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. So when I came in, I did redshirt my freshman year. When I was recruited, Coach Franklin let me know that I will be the only defensive tackle he took in that class, which he did. Guys like Torrey Agee and Adam Butler did transition over to that position, but as far as on paper, I was the only defensive tackle that he took in that class. So I felt some pride in that. And just the conversations and just the opportunity to connect with guys like Baron Dixon, who, hosted me, and Vince Taylor. I just felt that group of a tight knit group. Coach Spencer, kind of related me to Colt Nichter. He felt like I was a guy, not as tall, but scrappy and have that fight like Colt did. So they recruited me. I would say it was that first year was a journey, man. I came in, a lot of guys gave me horror stories about the strength and conditioning program, primarily the running. So I came in pretty prepared. I came
Well,
in.
you also, I don't mean to interrupt you, but you were used to humidity.
Oh yeah.
Miami, Atlanta,
Oh yeah.
unlike the guys from maybe the north or the west, you can be in the best shape, but we all have seen those guys fall out just because it's that heavy air we can't quite get used to.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. It was
I got to give a quick shout out. Adam Butler still in the league.
Yep. Hey, that's my I love Adam to death, man. That's my boy. He was a big part of, just my journey there. We still keep in contact weekly. He was a big part of my bachelor party when we went down to Miami. It was a
Now
fun
that
time.
was just a couple of years ago, right?
I got married this year, so that was last.
Okay, so what my point is, statute of limitations is clearly not up in the state of Florida. We'll shelve what may or may not have happened on that trip.
Hey,
But
we had a ball. We had a ball.
as long as everybody survived unscathed, we'll just leave it at that.
Yes,
So
sir.
Darius, you get to Vanderbilt, and there's that transition you're talking about. You get redshirted. Were you mad that you were redshirted, or did you think that was the right decision? Not that you had much of a choice. Did you think that was the right thing for you?
So absolutely. I mean, Coach Franklin pulled us all in at the end of camp. When I say all in, I mean freshmen. And he kind of went through green, yellow, red with a lot of us. He was very transparent in front of everyone in the class. Some guys got green cards, some guys got yellow, and some guys got
green meant you're playing, you're on the roster,
green
or the active roster.
Yeah, greens mean you're playing, you're in the game plan. Yellow means you're a guy that you're one injury away from being in there, and red means you need to either get your stuff in gear, or red means you have an injury and you need to kind of develop. So I was in that yellow bunch, so I was able to travel to a couple of games. Really happy that I was able to travel to Georgia, which was if I didn't, I had a lot of high school teammates that high school classmates rather that ended up making it to Georgia. So if I didn't make that dress list for at UGA, it was gonna be uproar. So,
how many tickets did you end up having to get for that game?
I think I was able to get 8, which was good. I think I was able to get 8. So that's my 4 and then an additional 4 from a teammate. But yeah, man. So yeah, I was a yellow guy, traveled to games, scout team player of the week a couple times throughout, my first year. It was an adjustment, but I was grateful. I mean, I was under a lot of guys. I mean, during my freshman year, we had Rob Lohr, Colt Nichter, Jared Morse, Vince Taylor, Baron Dixon. I mean, like, it's not like I was, it was a pleasure to be on that list of guys being next up.
There were no chumps on that D line.
No, sir.
And the rumor has it you were I want to put this the way it was described to me. You were disruptive on the defensive line for scout team, but you gave them a look. You gave them the looks they needed every week.
Man, I remember plenty of fights with guys, and I was gonna.
I want names. I want to know who you're fighting with.
Hey, I love Wesley. Wesley was my guy. Wesley Johnson. Me and Wesley went at it a couple times. We did.
Shout out to Wesley Johnson making it. LB, let's talk about Coach Franklin. Hell of a salesman. Hell of a recruiter. I never played for him, never met him. I have questions about other things he may have done later on down the line. But as far as being a player's coach, relate to you guys. And what I mean, and I want to put this delicately, did he have any issues with race? Did he have any issues with where your backgrounds were from? What about the guys who were already on the program or in the program before he got there? Because they weren't recruited by him. I know that's a mouthful of things. I guess I'm really just asking about your opinions about how Coach was as a coach and how he related to the team.
Absolutely. Well, when he came, I want to say that he is highly energetic. He just kind of grabs a room I mean, very anal at times. I know, a lot of guys felt like they were on pins and needles sometimes just because they didn't want to mess up. But you talk about a guy that has a proven process, and really believes in the culture of the locker room. I mean, I think he's, it was a pleasure to play for him. Never took any sides as far as who you were. I mean, he met every guy as they were. Every guy has a stake in the program. So he was tremendous. He was tremendous. It was a lot of what I feel like a institution like Vanderbilt needed as a coach. Very frank, very transparent. I remember a lot of times, if I had a bad practice, or heck, if I had a good practice, I'll get a text message while I'm in study hall from Coach Franklin saying, "Hey, you need to fix this. You need to do this." Heck, at that time, I'm a redshirt freshman right there, and I definitely was a guy that he threw in the fire a lot. We had something called star drill. So I mean, he's going to get the best out of you. If he sees something in you, and you're not really pulling it out, he's going to get the best out of you. So I mean, it made me a better player and man. So I kind of, I'm very grateful and honored to have played under him. And I do root for the Nittany Lions when they come on. I will say that.
Well, and a lot of players who I've talked to who played for him share the same sentiments. Yeah. We don't always get along with our head coach. We don't always get along with our position coach, because maybe if we're not one of the starters or big contributors, but we think we should be, that's normal. But this is not daddy ball. This is not high school. This is SEC Power Five, best conference approach to the way it is, and I can appreciate that. Not being left in the dark. You knew where you stand. And speaking of knowing where we stand, we got some more Commodores that have rolled in. Man, you're setting some records already, LB. We got the pride of Pennsauken, New Jersey. We got Gene Keenan in the house, one of my former teammates who was on the show a few weeks back. And we got the ever-present, one of the definitive guys, in my opinion, for the black and gold. And I mean this, OJ. OJ Fleming is here, thick or thin, and he'll do anything for the program. I don't know if you know OJ, but if you don't, he's a guy you need to get to know.
Absolutely.
LB, let's talk about some playing time.
Yes, sir.
When was that your second year, your sophomore year? Share with us a little bit about the development of you as a player, your maturity, your from an academic and social standpoint. Are you getting your footing during that first year going into the second year?
Absolutely. So going into that redshirt freshman year, man, that summer was a time. I mean, here you talk about, I think we had potential, what could have potentially be the best team in the SEC East during that time. We played well, but I feel like we're a couple guys short, and that's, neither here nor there. But yeah, man, really ecstatic about, getting the opportunity to play. I knew, there's no more red shirt, there's no more scout team. It was an opportunity for me to, just kind of get in the rotation. Coach Spencer called it the rally group. So as long as I was in that rally group, I was going to, get some playing time. So I ended up getting my first down, and I'll never forget it. Coach Spencer called my name out there, Ole Miss, first game. My redshirt freshman year, I'm lining up against Lermy Tunzel. Man, I'm ecstatic to be out there, man. It was a time. It was a time. Competed really hard. Played in a couple games here and there. Always on special teams, primarily on punt. But get my feet wet out there. As games allowed. Like I said, I came in with, being the only defensive tackle in that class. You still had guys. My second year, still, you had Jared Moore still there. Adam Butler then moved to defensive line, Vince Taylor, Baron Dixon. I mean, I'm still behind some guys, but when I got my opportunity, I made the most of it, man. I had my best game against Texas A&M, recorded my first tackle for loss. It was a time, man. Like me and my best friend Caleb Azubike, we talk about it all the time. Like he's probably my biggest advocate. He's always, man, he should be playing, he should be starting. No, but I'm more of a process driven guy. I don't play, favorites. I'm a stake in the process.
You're
So,
a teammate. You're a team
abs-
guy.
absolutely.
But
So
but
my
but,
opportunity came, it came.
but speaking of your closest buddy, Caleb, he's going to be your biggest cheerleader, but he's probably also going to be your biggest critic.
Oh yeah.
And that's what best buddies do. That's what teammates do. And I owe you an apology because I didn't mean to just skip over the fact that was a 9-4 Music City Bowl win team, because I do want to ask a couple of things about that. That the year before under Franklin, 6 wins, 6-17. That was a Liberty Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
That was, and you probably either saw that in person or you saw it on TV. That was a loss to Cincinnati. That ended a 6-6 team, 6-7. The next year, turn it around, and we're whipping everybody that year, 9-4.
Mm-hmm.
To the Music City Bowl, I was there. That was a big game. That was a big score, 38 points. That was big.
Yeah.
Captains, if you remember, Archibald Barnes, Wesley Johnson, Walker May, Javon Marshall, Jordan Rogers, Kerry Spear, Zach Stacy, and John L. Thomas. That's a hell of a leadership group. And that's what I wanted to ask about.
Mm-hmm.
How did Coach Franklin organize, or I guess from a culture standpoint, what was the purpose of the captains? And did they really serve a purpose in the locker room and outside of games and representing the team? How did that, from a leadership standpoint, work?
It was huge. I mean, Coach Franklin emphasized ultimate teammate. I'll never forget, man. Starting from fall camp leading up into the last game, you had someone from the team, anyone from on the team, to come up and just kind of give their story. A lot of the opportunity to just know who a guy was outside of the pads, and just kind of get a background story of them. Those guys in particular that you named all had a stake in, just, being vulnerable. I know all of those guys were ultimate teammate guys, meaning that they, team before themselves. They were great leaders for us. I mean, I'll never forget, Coach Franklin was very, 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 how do you put it, particular in how he did the dorm, the rooms for in the summer. So when I came in my freshman year, true freshman year, guys like Archibald were on our floor. Like we had guys like Eddie Foster on our floor, Jordan Matthews on our floor. I mean, he did that intentionally, where guys like that, either good or bad influences. We were right there. We were right there with the Mohicans, and I will say my class. I mean, when we came, we felt like we were the top dog, so we wasn't backing down from any of those guys. Heck, we were very egotistical. Whereas, being in the dorm room challenging guys, whether it be anything, playing video games or doing other things, we were going to challenge you. So,
You know what that is? One, that's a whole lot of testosterone flowing through the door.
yeah, yeah.
But two, it's that confidence, whether it's controlled or not. It's that athletic confidence that we all have. We're all coming out of our high schools as the top dog. We pardon my French, but we think our poop don't stink, and we're the best thing at our position ever. And frankly, you're then challenging the older guys to see who really is top dog at defensive end or D tackle. And you get into your sophomore year, the 13th season, another 9-4 season. This is, man, I love this game. This bowl game was in my backyard. This was against Houston. You guys whipped them, big crowd. A lot of alums came for that. But that season, that's 2 9-win seasons that probably hadn't been duplicated in 100 years prior Vanderbilt football.
Yes, sir.
So you're getting a lot of playing time during this time. From an academic standpoint, did you have your footing? Did you feel confident from that standpoint?
Man, I'll tell you, absolutely not going in. It was my years at Vanderbilt academically, man, are night and day. I struggled coming in my freshman year, freshman and sophomore year, redshirt freshman year, man, I struggled. I mean, barely scraping a 2.5. still got, on the study hall hours plan. So it was a struggle. And then once Coach Franklin left, and we all kind of felt like once that thumb that was like on us left, I mean, I'll be very transparent, man. I was a guy that, man, I kind of diverted to some old ways, man. Some ways where, class, what's that? I mean, an institution like Vanderbilt, that doesn't fly. So I mean, moving forward from my redshirt freshman year to my redshirt sophomore campaign, man, I was ineligible. Where it was that period of time where we didn't have a coach, so I was out partying, having a good time. It was a rough transition. Once they left, a lot of the guys, especially our class, kind of felt like, okay, well, you know, Papa Bear is not here. We can kind of like strunt our stuff here. And I would say fortunately, not even unfortunately, fortunately for me, I had to be reprimanded for my actions, and it kind of transcended who I am today. It was a complete turnaround. I went from being ineligible an entire redshirt sophomore campaign to a guy that was on the SEC academic honor roll the very next season.
I want to, with the caution of treading lightly, which was more difficult of a conversation for you to handle? The one on campus with your academic advisors or whoever within the athletic department, or the ones you had at home about what was going on with you in Nashville?
Man, it was twofold. I will never forget this, Coach. Like this was, I had a stellar spring. Like when Mason them first got there, I had a stellar spring. I was a guy that, we diverted to a 3-4 scheme, which I was very familiar with from high school. I got, I was, a lot of guys in my class would call me football savvy. So I caught on to, what those guys wanted to instill kind of to my arrogance. I kind of, I kind of got that, football was it type mindset, and I didn't handle it very well. Whereas I was, summer break had just commenced, and I already knew what the grades were, but I felt like, okay, I still would be eligible. Coach Frank Miley called me, and I'm literally about to hit the garage door at my home to park my car in the garage, and he was like, "LB, you're ineligible." I said, "What? What do you mean, Coach?" He said, "Man, they're telling me that you're ineligible. You're about to get a call from Candace Lee." Literally, I get off the phone with Frank or with Coach Miley. Candace Lee's calling me. I answered the phone. I said, "How you doing, Candace?" She's like, "LB, it's unfortunate for me to tell you this, but you're going to be ineligible to play." At that point, I wept. It was my opportunity to really be the guy. Like I was waiting on that moment. It was, to be that guy. So I end that conversation and I walk into, that same dining room table where where we had that conversation with Coach Franklin. My mom saying, about telling me about the academics. But
Wait, did she already know, or you had to tell her?
Oh, I had to tell, yeah, like that. After I talked to Candace, that was my first knowledge, and I had to walk in and kind of, face the noise. And crazy enough, that day was the NFL draft when Teddy Bridgewater got drafted. It was the same night. I'll never forget it. So, me and my dad always watched the draft together. So, I'm still crying. I'm telling him, and he was like, "Well, what you gonna do? You're gonna, sit here and sulk, or you gonna, you know, do something about it." So we called my academic advisor, Max, who's still there, does a great job. We came up with a plan, an actionable plan to move forward. I talked to Coach Mason. I talked to God rest his soul, David Williams. They told me that they believed in me, told me that they were going to keep me on scholarship, and that treat this year as an injury year, like you had a catastrophic injury. Heck, I called it a brain injury. I had a catastrophic brain injury. I was out my redshirt sophomore year. I mean, and it completely transformed me as a man. And like I said, like who I am today is embodied in that experience.
LB, when did it hit you? Maybe it was that day, maybe it was later. Coach Mason didn't have to keep you on scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
He could have dropped you right then. When did it hit you that it's okay to give others a second chance? Because clearly Mason, Williams, Candace, whoever it was, the decision makers, they saw something in you. You had gone through what you just described, your knucklehead phase. My word, but you're maturing in a hurry.
Yep.
Clearly, that day, you pulling into the driveway or the garage, that's got to be one of the most important days of your life.
Yes, sir.
When
100%.
was it that it really hit you? Not the fact that you're ineligible and you got work to do, but that there were others who believed in you and were giving you this opportunity, and that you knew this was your shot to redeem where you were.
Man, I'm almost getting chills right now just talking about it, man. It was David Williams. When I came back to campus that summer, I had to sit out I missed a whole summer session with the guys. So that first June
Were
session,
you home in Atlanta, or were you
I was still home in Atlanta. I was still home in Dallas, still home. Guys were already coming in. Having their orientation, getting with the weight, the whole summer program was just starting. I was back home. I came back in July, and the first meeting I had was with David Williams, and he was very transparent with me. And he told me that he believed in me. He was like, I know you're not not that type of guy. Like, you're not, like, that's not you. And we had after that, we had a wonderful relationship where he kept tabs on me. Another gentleman by the name of Richard McCarty, who's also a counselor at the school, really big provost at the school. We got we kind of built that he had that mentorship role for me. And I just had guys pouring into me. Chris Marv, who is now on staff, who is a huge mentor. I talked to Marv literally today. Huge mentor pouring into me. So it was, everyone that, just kind of was rallying behind me, even in the midst of, the confusion, even in the midst of me not knowing what was next. People still motivate me, and it paid off. I mean, it paid off. And I mean, I want to say that redshirt sophomore season, it went by like a blink. Like I feel like I didn't miss a beat. Like, yeah, it sucked that I didn't play, but I didn't miss a beat at all.
Well, and I want to pause your journey and talk a little bit more about Franklin, but that was a 3-9, 0-8 in the conference first year for Mason. Not the culture and not what you were used to with your first 2 years being bowl teams. So here's part of my question. Thank you, Kenny Cole, for this idea. The guys who came in 11 the year before you, they've been on 3 bowl teams in 3 years. That's never happened in our history of the program. Before you realized or learned that Franklin was leaving, you're gearing up for your 3rd year. This is probably in your mind, we're going to push it to 10 wins, big bowl, all of that. But we lose a lot of talent after the 13 year. A lot of guys, some in the pros even still. But what was it, I guess? Was it just too much of a change? New coach, talent gone, changing the clubhouse, so to speak. Can you put your finger on it, or was it kind of all of the above that really, I'm not talking about you personally, but you're part of the big picture. We go from 9 wins to 3 wins. Can you kind of pinpoint it? Because I'm sure you guys were on an emotional roller coaster for all during that time.
Absolutely, man. I mean, kind of like what I mentioned earlier. I mean, once Franklin, decided to move on to Penn State, a lot of guys felt as if, like I said, Papa Bear was gone. I can breathe. I can do what I wanted to do. And I have tremendous respect for Derek Mason, and I appreciate him as a coach. But it was two different cultures. I mean, what we knew with Franklin and Galt was completely different what we had with Mason and Hewlin that first year. I mean, from the strength and conditioning aspect of it, the discipline aspect of it, guys making, as you call it, knucklehead decisions. It was night and day as far as how things were handled. And culturally, guys like myself, guys in, the 11 class, in my class, when that new class kind of rolled in, we were kind of like, well, who are you guys? And they didn't get the most out of us like the Franklin staff did. They got the most out of us. And I feel like that kind of attributed to the record. Now, granted, we had some, carousel like quarterback that kind of, went into that, but
and frankly, to be transparent, there was the off the field assault
mhm,
trial and
mhm,
investigation, and
mhm,
that made the news and certainly I assume, got into the clubhouse. Uh,
mhm.
I keep calling it the clubhouse, but you know what I'm talking about. Into
Yes,
Magoo.
sir.
Did
Yes,
it
sir.
fracture any of the team?
Oh
Did
man,
it?
I
Did
know
it?
my class in particular we were scorned by, I mean, a lot of those guys were guys that came in on the official visit. It was, our 2012 class was the class that felt like we were going to change the dynamic of the culture.
Mhm.
And in many aspects we did. So, when guys, were no longer a part of that vision, it kind of got split in half, if you will. Some guys were on this side, some guys were on this side, some guys were Franklin guys who go ahead.
Okay. When you say split in half, what do you mean? And maybe you were about to describe
Yeah,
that.
yeah, absolutely. So you got guys who were Franklin guys who, were playing a lot within, that within that coaching staff. Then when the new coaching staff came, you had some guys who
Mhm.
who also played, but some guys, I'll be transparent, were kind of left on the back burner. It's kind of
Mhm.
like we want to get that, that notion of the program kind of
Mhm.
out, and we want to implement this. And if you can't get with this, then you got to be out. So it definitely split the class in half. Absolutely.
Well, and I know that's not good for a team unity, and I know that makes it
Mhm.
even harder on captains and leadership. But LB, we got some more Commodores. We got Jamie Bryant, we got Marcus Williams, we got JT Jakari is with us.
Yes, sir.
We got all kind of Commodores with us, and Ladarius, I know that during that time period when Franklin leaves, a lot of us, I'm speaking for myself, but maybe for other alums, while in the back of my mind, I hoped he'd stay there and build the big program and get us to where we've never been, and all, visions of grandeur. But the reality was, it was a stepping stone for him. He
Yep.
came in, he changed what he did. He was very successful where there hadn't been the success for consecutive years, and he springboarded and went back home. Was that a gut punch to the team? Was that expected by the team? How did you feel when you learned that he was leaving? And did he ever have a team meeting to tell you guys he was leaving?
So there's no resentment here as far as, I knew, when I committed to Vanderbilt, I committed to Vanderbilt, not Coach Franklin, in a sense of how he was able to, keep us, committed and enrolled. However, we knew, I knew personally that I wasn't committed to him. I was committed to the institution. So, once he moved on, it was more congratulatory. And he did have that meeting with us. I remember vividly, coming back from Christmas break, we had a team meeting. He told us, which I'm very much so, appreciative of. He told us before anything went out. I remember very vividly. It was a lot of tears. He was very, he did in many aspects of it. I feel like he didn't want to, but it kind of saw it as a springboard of his career, like you alluded to. And I mean, the the opportunity had to be taken, and he took it. So we did have that meeting. I know guys, feel some type of way about it, especially, he's told us on this on this dream. Heck, I could have a national championship ring at Clemson right now, but I knew that I committed to Vanderbilt. So some guys might have some resentment with that, but I surely don't. I mean, I went up to Penn State in 2019, and he welcomed me with open arms. It was pretty much a carbon copy of what he had established at Vanderbilt at Penn State. So, I no resentment at all. He took the entire staff with him, which was a testament of him and his character. Believing in his nucleus, a group, many of guys who are, if not head coaches of their of institutions now, high coordinators. So I mean, it's just kind of how how the cookie crumbled. I mean, I'm very happy that like I said, very happy that I was able to be coached by him, and that opportunity presented itself. It just granted me an opportunity to kind of just kind of move on within my process. And
Sure.
congratulate him.
It was very mature of you back then. It's very mature of you now, because if you really think about it, those guys who are not of the same mindset of you about Coach Franklin. Well, Coach, when I committed to you, you said this was a marriage. But now apparently 3 years later, we're getting divorced.
Mm-hmm.
And you're leaving my house.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's the mindset of others. And I'm not trying to stir the pot. I'm just saying to you, I recognize your maturity from that standpoint, because not a lot of guys have that same opinion. Guys, I got Ladarius Banks. He played for Coach Franklin and then Coach Mason. Oh, we got Wesley Tate in the house coming out of San Diego. Yes, sir. Now, you're going into your final year, your last year of schooling. We got the fall of we'll go through the fall of 14. That's a 3-9. That's a tough first year into Mason. We go under 15. You got captains Darian Herring, Spencer Pulley, Ryan White. And the first two games don't go our way. We lose to Western Kentucky and then Georgia. But then you guys put it on Austin Peay. And at this point, where are you in the rotation? How do you feel about your game? Are you seeing the improvements that you want on the field?
Yeah, so it does. I can't go starting off talking about my senior year without talking about that off season prior. We had a turnover in offensive and defensive coordinator, where Coach Mason took over the defense that year, and we had Andy Ludwig come in from Wisconsin. So just going through off-season program and training, Coach Ludwig, very, very candidly was looking for a fullback. We didn't have one at the time. I want to say K-Dub had just graduated, so we didn't have a fullback. Just going through agility drills and, that off-season workout, Coach Mason pulled me into his office and was like, how would you feel about, moving the offense? I'm like, really? Like, I'm finally about to play. I'm finally about to, make my state, at D-line, what I came here for. Now you pull me in and say you want to change my position. Me always being, team before me. I can very clearly understand why that was brought up. I mean, that just goes to my roots, South Florida guy. And granted, during those workouts, after the workouts of guys throwing the football around and catching, I'm one of the first ones that want to do it. So
they describe it as quick feet and soft hands.
Yeah. Yes, sir. So I mean, it was no surprise. When we took opportunities to work out, away from the away from the strength and conditioning program. I know coaches are up top looking, how Magoogan set up in the pavilion watching.
They're always watching. They're always.
So we had a workout, with the D line, and then after, the skill guys are still out there. So I'm like, hey, let me get out there, let me line up. And I'm out there toasting our starting corners and linebackers, So he pulls me in the meeting. He's like, "What do you think about moving the offense?" I'm like, "Coach, whatever we can do to help the team." So I go into my senior year, rotating starting position with Dallas Rivers at fullback. Man, great opportunity for me. I love that I'm able to say that I played on both sides of the ball in the SEC. I feel like many guys don't have a opportunity to say that. I was able to just learn so much about both sides of the game, which has propelled me as a coach, I would say.
And we're gonna
Yeah.
get to that.
But yeah, so yeah, can't talk about senior year without talking about that off season. So I was probably my heaviest then too. I was dang near touching 300 pounds, and I cut the weight. I ended up playing at 245. I mean, I was the guy they pulled like after workouts. I had a workout, just I had to start running with the big skill instead of the bigs. It was a big transition for
How
me.
did you cut that weight?
Oh man, all to Body by Dobson, man. Coach Dobson did an amazing job. We drafted out a nutrition plan for me. Literally told me no meals past 7 o'clock. Literally, like no meals past 7 o'clock. None.
Did you live in the towers at that time?
Man, man, I was grown, man. I was by the time I was in my senior year, I was a guy living off camp. I was an off campus type of guy.
Well,
So,
that's even harder. You got to have that discipline if you're going to drop 60 or
yep.
whatever it was.
Man, it was the burning desire to play. I had just been out for a full year. It was a burning desire to play. And now you're telling me I not only get to play, I get to start. Like you're telling me I get to start off the wham bam if I do
So,
X, Y, and Z.
hold on. All your buddies are going out. Man, we're making a run to White Castle. We're making a run. We're going to order, and you're staying home playing video games.
Can't do it.
Oh,
No. It wasn't video games during that time. It was study hall, baby. I was in study hall.
there you
If
go.
anybody know me, they know I was the last one to leave study hall.
Yeah, because I know you didn't want to walk back into that kitchen in
Uh-uh.
Dallas, Georgia.
Uh-uh. So I was in study hall, from study hall training table in the Hendricks, and from Hendricks to the house, man.
And when during this process did you meet your bride?
So I met my bride when I moved when I so I graduated from Vanderbilt, and I'm a grad transfer at Sanford University. And my bride was a freshman at the University of Alabama, Birmingham. So
Hello.
I kind of robbed the cradle there, if you will. But
Wait. You go through your senior year at Vanderbilt.
yes,
Did
sir.
you finish your studies as well as your eligibility, or did you have more of both still when
So
you
yeah,
left
so
campus?
yeah, so it was kind of. I mean, I appreciate Coach Mason for this. It kind of got down to if I would stay, I would be a just prolonging my academics at Vanderbilt. Well, I was already 18 hours shy of graduating, so it made no sense. So if that was the opportunity that they were giving me, I kind of I appreciated it for them giving me that, but it was something that I could not. I came to Vanderbilt to graduate in 4, and get my 5th year, if so be it, to be paid for. However, it wasn't in the cards. I graduated, and I set on my quest. It was like recruiting all over again. And I had a couple schools. It came down to Western Michigan, Miami of Ohio, and Sanford University.
So
And I
wait,
chose.
you got your degree now from Vanderbilt.
Uh-huh.
You still have a year of eligibility to play.
Correct.
So rather than going to be a GA, for example, a
Mm-hmm.
graduate assistant coach, you still wanted to be on the field for another year.
Yes, sir.
So something brought you to Birmingham, and I suspect it wasn't just barbecue. What brought you to Sanford in Homewood, Alabama, in the suburbs of Birmingham?
So it was a reconnection with a couple coaches that were a part of my recruiting process who, I don't want to say that, when, very grateful for any scholarship offer, but, when you get offers like Clemson and Kentucky and Vanderbilt and Louisville and all that, Miami, you're not necessarily, Stanford's and the Georgia Southerns aren't, in the mix. Mm-hmm. However, Victor Cabral, who was he came to the school so much at East Paulding. He was on the staff at Stanford. I called my high school coach. I said, "Hey, coach, I'm graduating in a couple months. Still looking for opportunity to play. If you ever see any of those guys that were recruiting me before, you let me know." Literally next day, I got a phone call from Victor Cabral and and offered me a scholarship. Said, when can you get on campus at Stanford? So I went on my official visit. I was still finishing up finals, so I was only able to take one. So I chose Stanford to go to. It was close from Nashville I still had a lot of studying to do. Mm-hmm. So I took the trip over to Stanford. I fell in love, and they told me I would have an opportunity to play, be a key contributor, as mm-hmm. well as earn a master's degree. So I took that, and very fortunate and grateful.
Well, I bet that coach is like, "Man, I've been waiting on you for 4 years."
That's exactly it.
But before you come to Stanford, did you graduate in December or did you walk in May?
So I walked in May. So
I want to talk about that.
Yes.
I want to talk about where you came from 2 years before that, mm-hmm. to be able to walk in May. How proud of a day was that for the Banks household?
Oh man, it was amazing. It was amazing. Both my parents were first generation college graduates. Mm-hmm. So it was just kind of like the baton being handed over, and you say in an institution like Vanderbilt. Mm-hmm. It made me. It was a proud moment. As soon as I got my diploma, as soon as I got my degree, first person I handed that thing to was my mom, and she still has it she still has it in the bonus room, hanging up on the wall, as well as my Stanford degree. Just a really proud moment. It was what, in 2011 when I was, thinking about where I'm going to go, and the education was a big part of that decision. And just seeing it, kind of full circle was what was it was amazing. It was amazing.
You're walking across that stage. 2 questions.
Uh-huh.
Do you hear mama in the crowd?
Oh yeah, they came really early. They had seats in the very, very front. Uh-huh. My roommate Paris Head, who's also my best friend. My roommate Paris Head, his family was there as well. Our families roped off to you're familiar with Command.
Reserved for family right here.
Roped off in the front.
So nice. And great. Then when the tears were flowing, was it when you saw mama, or were you already at that point of just sheer relief, sheer being proud, and just, again, one of those monumental moments in life that we don't forget?
Absolutely, man. I'm a biblical guy. I believe in the word. So I'll never forget bawling and just professing my love and gratitude to my Lord and Savior. Just thank you. I just kept thanking him, because I remember what it was like being in my driveway, being told that I wouldn't be able to play. I was ineligible, to becoming the SEC academic honor roll guy, to becoming a guy that graduated from, prestigious university as Vanderbilt. It was a tremendous, all I could do is just praise God. That's all I could do. That's all I did.
That's awesome. But then you get down to Stanford and you played and got your master's, and it's still football. It doesn't matter where you're playing.
Those
instincts kick in. Did you ever find yourself having to maybe check yourself? Man, I just played at Vanderbilt in the SEC, and I'm here at Stanford. Or were you able to kind of cage that, or maybe funnel it towards some leadership? Because you were an older guy, you're probably calling you Uncle, Gramps.
Oh yeah, man. When I stepped foot on Stanford's campus, I instantly was a leader. Instantly. It was a younger team. Mm-hmm. Guys really respected having a grad transfer from Stanford. And I'm a team, like I said earlier, I'm a team before I'm a team before me type of guy. So I really embrace the culture that they had set in stone. Being a grad transfer guy, I had a lot of flexibility in my schedule. So I rubbed shoulders with Ben Ashford, the strength and conditioning coach. So we maintained a relationship. When guys are in class during the day, I'm still at the field house, hanging out, shooting it up with the coaches. So I was an extension of the coaching staff once.
And so you're probably what, 23 at this time?
Yeah, so I'm a younger guy. Still like I graduated 2012, but I'm still like I was 17 when I was taking classes at Vanderbilt.
Right. But those freshmen who are just coming on
Oh yeah.
campus on the
Oh
team,
yeah.
they're 17, they're 18.
Yeah.
I know they're calling you Mr. Banks. I know
Man,
they're calling you Mr. Banks.
man, I had like I told you, I was grown, man. Once I was a senior at Vanderbilt, it was
Yeah.
big for me to have like kind of have my own place. And so I was big on that. And then when I went to Stanford, it was the same deal. I'm like, you're not putting me in a dorm. Like I need to have my own place. So I was the only guy, literally the only guy, and my roommate, Ketavious Marks, who was a grad transfer from Arkansas. We had an apartment, so they lived it up at our place.
Again, statute of limitations in Alabama are expired. But here's in our last few minutes, LB, and I appreciate you sharing some time. Oh, we got Greensboro, Alabama in the house. We got T Banks. Hey, T. Hey, bud.
Yo,
Ladarius, you then, after you graduated, I know that now you're in Hendersonville and you're a coach and an educator. What does that mean to you now that you've got a graduate degree? You played 5 years of college ball. What have you brought to your profession that you maybe learned along this journey we've just gone through that you're able to now share with your students and the athletes, your student athletes, that maybe you're helping to pay it forward, so to speak?
absolutely. I mean, it's a big reason why I do what I do is to pay it forward. I mean, I was blessed and fortunate enough to just be, just to have the network that I have and to have, the influence that I have, that I would not be doing God's work if I did not give that back. So, what I instill into my students is, trust the process. I mean, your circumstances, things that you encounter doesn't have to be your final say, that you can work hard and earn the things that you say you want. So I mean, and a lot of times our youth don't have that person just to advocate for them. If they come from a family or a household that hasn't achieved much, well, heck, I'm not going to be an achiever myself. So I challenge my students, my athletes to, write your own narrative, be all that God called you to be. Like, don't shy away from being great. If you got any ounce of greatness in you, I feel like it's my duty to pull it out of you. So and it's a testament to, guys who've pulled it out of me. Heck, I didn't know. Heck, I could have just been without David Williams. Heck, I could have been a guy back telling old stories about how good I was or how good I could have been had it not been an opportunity where, someone that of that stature had, poured into me. So, like I say, I got to pay it forward. I have to give it all back.
It's stories like yours. It's journeys like yours that what I think helps to separate our program apart from any others. You could have made a left-hand turn, but you made a right-hand turn. And that right-hand turn has produced benefits through your life and will hopefully always be there in your life. Ladarius, I want to thank you, not just for coming on the show and sharing your story, but for what you're doing for your community. Because I bet you see in some of these kids what you were at some point in your life. And there is no greater profession to me than an educator, whether you're a coach or a teacher or whatever your position, to be able to guide the youth, because they need to hear your stories. They need to be literally or figuratively, not smacked on the head, but you know what I mean, They need to be put on
Absolutely.
the straight and narrow. So thank you for sharing tonight. And gosh, just keep doing what you're doing. I think it's awesome.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. I appreciate the platform, man. You're doing a great job.
Well, thank you. And this is, guys, this is the beautiful reason why we're doing this. LB got his story out. Not a lot of you guys who don't know him or didn't play with him, certainly like me. Now I'm fortunate to call him one of my friends. And we're Commodores from, it doesn't matter what year you played, what
Sir.
era, who your coach was. We all have similar stories about the crappy turf in the stadium, about the crappy food we ate, but you wouldn't change anything. You got all your,
Absolutely not.
we got some great memories. But LB, let me sign off. I want you to stick around for just a second.
Absolutely.
If y'all hadn't looked lately, you're going to recognize all kind of names between now and February of former Commodores who are coming on the show. I know we all get busy during the holiday season, but keep coming back on Tuesday nights. Share an hour with us because these stories are important. They're great stories. They're connecting all of us from different generations. You guys, anchor down. Have a good holiday. We'll see you next week.